here to share more about their digital and AI evolution is Michael Hansen, CEO of Cengage. Michael, welcome to NYSE Live.
Thanks for having me, Ashley.
All right, so what is Cengage and how has it evolved over the past 100 years from a traditional textbook publisher to a digital-first company?
Yes, so Cengage, first and foremost, is 4,000 extremely dedicated professionals, and we have about $1.5 billion in revenue. But importantly, we do two things. One is we provide education learning platforms to both K-12 schools as well as higher ed institutions. And we are in about 75% of institutions in the K-12 districts and about 90% of all the colleges in the United States. So we're doing it at scale. And the second thing we do is we actually provide the entire learning experience, and that is in our online skills business, where we give you, for a minimal investment, a path to get a certificate to really have a path to the middle class if you don't choose to have a degree.
All right, and what does education for employment mean, and why is it such a big focus right now?
Well, it's a big focus for us because for many, many years, the education system has really been somewhat separate from the workplace. In other words, what education systems and what schools and colleges were trying to do is they were trying to graduate as many people as possible. But what they were not trying to do is necessarily get you ready for the labor market and get you ready for your first job. And we are trying very hard to fill that gap in that we are really introducing the skills that are required for the job, for the first job that you have out of school, and do that in the education place and mesh the two together in a better way than that has been happening in the past.
Yeah, speaking of, according to a recent Cengage survey, you found that just 30% of more than 2 million college graduates in the US this spring secured full-time employment. So that's 70% of graduates not finding jobs. Where are the learners feeling the biggest gap right now between education and eventually landing work? And how are you helping to close it?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. And what's interesting about that statistic is 90% of educators think they're doing a great job preparing the students for the workplace. And less than 50% of the students really think that is the case. And as you said, the statistics, the facts bear out that the students are not getting the jobs that they should be getting. I think the biggest gaps are really in very specific skills that are required when you get your first job, and that the education system is not teaching technical skills. But equally important, often the problem solving, the so-called soft skills, is something that employers really want and they don't feel is taught enough in colleges and K-12 school systems.
All right, and how are you using, if we can make a shift to AI, how are you using AI in your products, and what impact are you seeing on students and instructors?
Yeah, we believe that the biggest impact that AI across all industries are going to have is it's going to become part of your daily workflow. Like now, the cell phone has become part of our daily workflow, and other technologies have done that as well. So we got to look at the workflow. And in education, what that means fundamentally is two things. One is we can now really and truly personalize the education experience. You actually probably will learn in a different way than I am learning. I might be a more visual learner. You might be a more auditory learner. So we can really customize it now to the individual learning style and give you what we call a tutor in the pocket. So you have somebody with you 24/7 that is able to help you along the way to understand the concepts, not to give you the answer, which is if you go on ChatGPT, you get the answer, but you're not necessarily learning what you need to learn, like, for instance, in the introduction to psychology. The second most important application is for the educator workflow. Whether it's a teacher in a school system or whether it is a professor in a college, they need to understand where the whole group, where the whole classroom is, and how they can treat one child in a different way, then they have to pay more attention to another child. So that is the fundamental application, and we've launched that in September, and we are very encouraged by the early feedback.
All right, thank you so much, Michael Hansen, CEO of Cengage.
Thanks for having me.